Hi everybody, my name is Dennis and welcome back to another album review. Today we're reviewing the second full-length album from Japanese singer-songwriter Joji, entitled Ballads 1. Now this is one that I was really looking forward to hearing. Even though not all of the singles blew me away, the song Slow Dancing in the Dark truly took me by storm. I thought it was beautiful through and through, and I'll talk more about that song later. But this was a fairly disappointing album, if I have to be completely honest. There weren't very many bad tracks on this album. It was actually pretty consistent. My main problem with it is that there just wasn't enough memorable about it. I mean, songs like Attention or Wanted You just fail to stay in my memory. I struggle to think, how did those songs go? What set them apart from any of the other ballads on this album? And I mean, it's fitting that effectively every song on this album is a ballad, considering the name. But unfortunately, a lot of them are just so similar in style and tone that they just fail to set themselves apart from one another. And this ends up working to the detriment of the album. He fails to do very much that's different. And even though there are exceptions to this, there are some legitimately great songs on this album, there just isn't enough memorable to make the entire thing worth the listen. I mean, we have songs that feel like they're trying way too hard to get a mainstream appeal with something like Test Drive or No Fun, which I don't enjoy either of those very much. Like I said, they just try way too hard to get some sort of big mainstream appeal, or at least that's the impression I get from listening to them. And like I said, there are some legitimately great songs on this album. Slow Dancing in the Dark in particular. This song is just so beautiful through and through. I love the amazing metaphor he uses with comparing slow dancing in the dark to being with someone that you care about so much, but you don't want them to leave you, so you slow dance in the dark so they can't see you, they can't see your flaws. And the way he says everything on top of these elegant, beautiful synth leads, these amazingly powerful instrumental, it's just so beautiful in every single way. I can't get enough of this track. I can listen to it over and over and over again, and I love it just as much every time. It is so beautifully sung. It's so beautifully performed. It's so amazingly produced. Everything about it, I just can't help but love it. Everything about this song is near perfection. I think this is this is one incredible track, and I wish the entire album was to this caliber, and if it was, I would likely be giving it a 10. Unfortunately, I don't believe any of the songs even came close to this caliber of quality. I'll See You in 40, I enjoyed that song a lot too. I loved the ukulele instrumentals going through in some parts of it. I liked how diverse it was. Again, one of my main problems with this album was how similar a lot of the tracks were. And that's not to say you can't have a style. That doesn't mean like every song has to be something completely unique from every other song. But when they're so similar to the point that it's hard to differentiate songs, that's when you start to have a problem. But I'll See You in 40 doesn't suffer from this. It has some really great, heavy auto-tuned vocals, and even though this doesn't sound very appealing, it's more reminiscent of something like Runaway by Kanye West, which I think is one of the best songs in his discography. That song by him is a beautiful 9-minute epic, and it offers this absolutely gorgeous, heavy auto-tune ballad at the end of the song. And even though I don't think it's quite to the same artistic beauty, I still think I'll See You in 40 has some good feelings along the same lines. Like, it reminds me of Runaway in all the best ways. And it's something that I really do enjoy. I think it was a solid closing to the album. And even from there, we have the song Come Through, which is, again, although not quite as distortingly auto-tuned, you can make out what he's saying. Come Through was still a pretty elegant song. It had a really nice, easy to move with beat. And even though there isn't much lyrical diversity on this album, a lot of it being about failed relationships or not wanting a relationship to fail or explaining why a relationship didn't go the way it did and how that makes you feel. And even though there's nothing wrong with singing about these things, I wish it did some more interesting things along this line, like he did in the song Slow Dancing in the Dark, taking a familiar theme and presenting it in such a unique and beautiful way. And this shows me he has the capacity to make a truly amazing album. I'm definitely looking forward to his future work, even if I didn't love this album. Like I said before, my main problem, there just wasn't enough memorable tracks. I mean, like, we have something like Why Am I Still in LA, which has some interesting guitar riffs on it that are more aggressive and heavy than anything else, but unfortunately these just feel a bit awkward and out of place. They don't really suit the tone of the song nor the rest of the album. And even though I think it was a pretty great guitar riff, I don't think it belonged on this album. I think it should have belonged on a more aggressive song or even on a more aggressive record. And unfortunately, there just wasn't enough going for this album, and there wasn't a lot going against it either. I mean, there's very few songs in here that I truly dislike. A lot of them just feel forgettable. I mean, I definitely don't like the song R.I.P. It was the one featuring Trippie Redd, and this had less to do with the performance than it had to do with Trippie Redd's verse. And even though his verse wasn't necessarily poorly rapped, it didn't necessarily clash with the tone of the song, my main problem stems from one line that he says. He talks about he would die for you, but then he says suicide for you. And even though I know this is going to sound really nitpicky, that line really bothered me. Hearing the way he said that romanticized suicide. It made something like, oh, I love you so much I'd kill myself for you. And I think suicide for you and die for you are two very different things. Die for you means I'd put my own well-being on the line to keep you safe. And, well, suicide for you means almost to me like I'm manipulating my own mental health to try and make you feel loved. And that's not a good message. And this is presented in a way that tries to make it sound sweet. It tries to make it sound, I love you so much, I would kill myself for you. But the way he says it is so disturbing. It's so, I find it so repulsive. Just the notion of, I would be willing to end my own life rather than I would allow something to happen to me. And this is a notion, and I mentioned this in depth before in my review of the new 21 Pilots album, about how the media romanticizes suicide, how when someone dies, they're viewed in such a much greater light, and this idea of suicide being an option continues to be prevalent in all forms of media. And it's something that is harmful. It hurts, it kills. This kills people. There's no other way to put it. Even though maybe not this line specifically is going to cause any deaths, but the messages held by what he's saying and the prevalence of that being conveyed through the media today, that kills people. That's not me exaggerating. That's not me hyping up me trying to make a point. It kills people. And there's no other way to say it. Regardless of anything this song has going for it, I find that one line so disturbing in every way, shape, and form that I can't find myself enjoying this song at all. And they may not bother you, and if not, that's okay, but I can't get past that one line in the song. I find it that heartbreaking. And not heartbreaking it causes such a powerful emotional experience that I love it so much. It's heartbreaking that people think this is okay. But enough on that song. There was so much going for this album, honestly. In some of the songs, at least. Like Slow Dancing in the Dark, I can't sing this song enough praises. It is so beautiful in every way possible. But unfortunately, none of the other songs quite lived up to this. So I'm feeling a 5 out of 10. Be sure to listen to the album. Tell me what you thought about it. Tell me how wrong my opinion is as always, and I'll see you in the next review.